Good afternoon, my friends. My name's Justin. I'm a session guitarist in Nashville, Tennessee. Welcome to my channel. I hope you're doing well. I've got a song here today. I'm going to put a solo on it, and I think that's about all it needs at this point. And then I also want to talk about something that's a little off topic for the channel, and that's hunting. I basically have one hobby. I play music. That's how I make my living, so it's not quite a hobby, although I really enjoy it. Well, that's drop D a whole step down on my Novo. This guitar, I was using it on a session today, and rather than get up and go grab my baritone out of my vault, I was like, I'll just tune this down. And it was in the key of C, so you know, it kind of made sense. I'm running it here through my Voodoo Vibe. I had the boost side of the Sean Tubbs tilt on. But you know, I don't know, I'm just having fun with it. There was a bunch of harmonic stuff that I did, and I went way down a harmonics rabbit hole when I was younger. And I talk about this in my new course, shameless plug, link in description. There are so many more harmonics on the guitar than just the, you know, the 12th fret, the 5th fret, the 7th fret. And you know, there's corresponding. It's like hard to hit. There it is, like kind of right over the pickup. Right over the very front edge of the pickup. And then the 19th fret, the same as the 12th fret. But you can play like almost entire scales. A little bit of swirl courtesy of the Voodoo Vibe. And I have a slapback on from the Strymon Mobius, and then the Overdrive that you heard in the beginning was the boost side of the Sean Tubbs tilt, which I highly recommend. What a great pedal. Some people are really against hunting because they say that it causes suffering. And man, I mean, I get it, you know. You hate to see an animal struggle, or anything struggle for life. Like there's an Instagram channel called Nature is Metal. Holy cow, that's hard to watch. I mean, there are some videos of animals just, I mean, to them it's like, hey, I caught one, got a meal, I'm gonna start chomping. They don't even bother killing it. Like, it's screaming in shock as something's eating it, you know, whether it's a lion that caught a wildebeest, or, you know, there's all sorts of brutality in Africa, if you think that stuff is brutal. the hardest one to see that I was watching was a Komodo dragon. They have this crazy bite, okay? They're ambush predators. They're not super fast. Like, they're fast in short bursts. They're content to jump out and bite a deer or a goat or something and then just follow it, because they also have this venom in their saliva. And for a long time, people thought that they just had bacteria that was really hardcore or something that lived symbiotically in their mouths, but they really do have a venom. I think that's now the consensus. We've decided they're actually venomous. It slowly paralyzes what they bite, okay? So this one video I saw, this like goat, looked like a not very old goat. A Komodo dragon was eating its hindquarters while it was just going, you know, like just bleating, B-L-E-A-T-I-N-G, just in shock, right? And it's like, man, somebody just like shoot that thing in the head and put it out of its misery. Holy cow. All that to say, my hobby outside of music, which I can't really call music a hobby because it's my livelihood, has become hunting. And there's a couple reasons for it. I don't have this like bloodlust or I'm not like, man, I want all these trophies on the wall, you know. It's more about doing something that's extremely hard, that not too many generations ago we were dependent on for survival. I really truly believe that the healthiest, most nutrient-dense meat that you can find for your family in the world is found in wild populations of animals. I just feel like my entire life is so soft, you know? I sit all day long in an air-conditioned studio and I play guitar. And if I complain about something, it's like, oh man, my back hurts, you know? And it's like, well, you're sitting in one spot for too long and your body's going into hibernation. That's your problem. Like, that's the problem in my life. I am dying of comfort. Gah. And there's a really high skill and effort barrier to entry. Like, you've gotta be in good shape, you know? So this is something that can kind of keep me in better shape than I would be if I literally just sat and played guitar my whole life, like I kind of do. So, you know, I've started applying to Western states to go on elk hunts, okay? I basically just would like some tips from some of you more experienced hunters who may watch my channel. I know there's quite a few of you, actually. What does it take to be successful in Colorado in September on an elk archery tag? I got within 25 yards twice and never had a clear shot. And I think there were probably 10 times as many hunters as there were elk in the unit we were in. It was a draw unit too. It's crazy. Anyway, here's a song. Let's play some guitar. I'm playing my Jeff Senge Strat. Bridge pickup, both sides of the Sean Tubbs tilt. If I turn both of them off, this is what it sounds like. Here's the overdrive side. Nice bit of saturation, and then the boost as well. I don't play with this much gain a lot, but let's see what happens here. Hate most of that. Let's do one more just because I like the kind of theme that I started with. My thing playing on records and stuff, it's not just about blowing like as fast as you can. Like there maybe can be a little bit of flash, but I want to play something that's singable first, kind of almost always. That's just what I default to, okay? So let's try one more time. also like you know, when you just kind of like, sometimes you can smack the bar and just get this sort of almost growl in the note that's not distorted. There's just a bit of a waver. Like, you hear how smooth that is, right? But if I do this, it's like it creates other harmonics in the note that are pulled out of tune and then kind of back in tune with it, and it's got this harmonic distortion to it. I'm not sure how else to describe it. Let's listen to this one more time, and then I want to show you a bunch of pictures from Colorado that I think are just amazing. You know, I mean, the song's at 120 BPM. That's a that's a short solo at that tempo. I mean, it's 8 bars. You know, in my world, you know, most of the stuff I play on, if you're new to the channel, is music row, pop country, which I think a lot of guys my age and older just love to hate. So I think I'm gonna save that, and let's get to talking about hunting a little bit. I want to show you guys some pictures from this trip. It's all just gorgeous, gorgeous countryside. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so this is the beginning of the trail when we were hiking in on our first night. This is probably 5 p.m. local time, and within 20 minutes or so, we see a bull elk from like 300 yards away, just grazing on the edge of the woods, which was crazy. We're like, hey, we walked in and he's right there. I mean, you kind of have a trail for a while, and then you get off the trail. And we got way off the trail and set up camp. This is one of my partner's rigs. He's using a sweet Durston tent, and I had ordered one 3 weeks before we left, but Durston decided to move everything to a domestic warehouse right at the end of August, beginning of September. It just seems like the complete wrong time to do some massive logistical move that's going to mess up your shipping right at the beginning of the busiest season for people who might use your products. I mean, I don't know. It's not my company. I'm not here to criticize. I ended up asking when they told me that there is no way that my tent was going to arrive in time, and they had a disclaimer that it may be delayed when I checked out. You know, so that's fair. They told me it was not going to arrive in time, and I was like, well, can I get a refund? Because I knew there was a chance, and they were happy to give me a refund. I'll probably end up buying one anyway at some point. Great tent, super lightweight. This is my shelter. So I borrowed a tarp from one of my partners and just slept under that. And I've got some Tyvek under my my pad here. This is an ultra warm pad. I also am looking at it now and I'm like, why don't I have a wide sleeping pad? Like, come on. I was in a mummy bag, but the thing is your arms fall off the side and then they get cold. So you cross your arms and you're trying to sleep with your arms folded, or you turn on your side. I don't know. I just need a wide pad. I'm not exactly a narrow guy. And the people, both of the other guys I hunted with have wide pads. Everybody who uses one tells me that they're great. So when you're out in the middle of nowhere, away from any light pollution, the stars are just amazing. Like, I took these from camp. You can see some of the Milky Way, lots of constellations. Here's my partners. We had just hiked what felt like straight up the side of a mountain. We're around 10,500 feet here, and we're just looking for the herd that we had seen on the, from the trail that first night, and there's not really any fresh sign, kind of when you get to the middle of the day, man, we came across carcasses and piles of bones everywhere. So obviously these animals are living in this area and being preyed upon, being hunted. We didn't see any carcasses where a hunter had, you know, quartered the animal in the field and then left the carcass. We just found skeletons picked clean, so they were old, you know. Man, there's a cow elk, you know, jawbone, pelvis, vertebrae, skull, decent sized animal right there. We found lots of wallows that were totally dry. So a wallow, it's like a puddle that elk decide to roll around and stomp in, and they can turn them into, like, it almost becomes, some of them I've seen are like almost perfectly circular, and they're about this deep. You know, they've stomped and rolled and flattened and packed the ground down. Some of them have water in them, you know, most of them do. Some of them are kind of dried out like this, so this hadn't been used in a while. The first time I went hunting, the only wallows we found had a nice undisturbed film of dust on the surface, so nobody's been using that for a while. These are just in these meadows up in the middle of nowhere, out in the wilderness. And you're hiking through grass that's waist high. You'll hike through willows that are shoulder height, you know, and you're trying to be quiet and everything. I was surprised that there were no bugs, like no ticks. I had put permethrin on my pants and my boots and some other outer gear. You really don't want that stuff touching your skin. But I didn't need any of it. I mean, there weren't even any mosquitoes. It was kind of awesome on that front. Like, I thought when I was sleeping under an open tarp that I was going to need to just, you know, really just coat myself in bends. And there was nothing. I mean, it was cold too. It was down in the 30s. So, but even in the afternoon in the woods, when it's nice, there are no mosquitoes or anything. It was crazy. I think we were maybe just too high and too late in the year. More wallows, more old sign, and some of these pictures are just, you know, I don't know why I took all the ones with no deadfall, because it seems like it was just an endless sea of deadfall. There is a wallow that's had some action in the past couple days, you know. And here, I don't know if you can see, but a lot of these branches have been just knocked down, and it looked like, it looked like a bull elk had been abusing this tree, or at the very least a muley buck or something. But we did find, oh, here's some young muleys right outside our camp. We saw dozens of mule deer, and they were kind of looking at us a little cautious, but they didn't really care. I was just telling the guys I went hunting with, I was like, they know what tag we have. They know that we're not a threat. We have elk tags. We don't have mule deer tags. So, man, they're big compared to whitetail, especially Tennessee whitetail. And they've got huge ears. I mean, I'm sure they just hear super well, like almost like rabbit ears. Oh yeah, moose, a little female moose in a pond or in the field. You kind of just steer clear. They don't care about you, and you don't want to make them care about you. That's pretty much it. There's a mule deer skeleton. So something ate a mule deer and left its bones in a field. More night sky. Actually, this is early morning sky. You can see the Orion constellation here. There were so many stars, it was like almost hard to pick out constellations. You know, they're usually the only ones that poke through with all our light pollution that we normally deal with. But some of these photos, like, I mean, you can tell it's right there, but with the naked eye, it was kind of, it was a little hard to see. There were just so many stars. So that's just before sunrise, real early. This is an elk trail along the side of a mountain. I mean, these are all over the place, you know, and you can tell when one's fresh because there's fresh droppings on it. And sometimes you might not be looking at fresh droppings, but merely droppings that were rehydrated by rain. So you kind of stab your trekking pole into it, see if it's dry on the inside, and I don't know. Some guys pick it up and smell it. I didn't get that far. But this is one of the county roads we took to one of the places we hiked in. We're driving a Polaris Ranger here, and just gorgeous country outside of Paonia, Colorado. This is our gear. This is my pack on the right. My buddy's pack on the left. And yeah, I mean, yeah, there's my friend Will. Basically, our trailhead starts right here in this gap, and it goes almost straight down, which makes it for an easy hike in. And then I was always huffing and puffing by the time I got out. Will's like a CrossFit guy, so I don't know if I ever even heard him breathe hard the entire trip. Like, we're wearing 30 to 60 pounds on our back, depending on if we're hiking in to set up camp or if we're not carrying camp gear and just like on a day trip from camp. You know, and the weight and the work never bothered me, but I feel like I do need to get better cardio. I need to raise the old VO2 max. You know, I did mostly a bunch of weightlifting and then started running a couple months, well, maybe 6 months, not super regularly, but before our trip. I need to run a lot more and maybe cycle. You know, Will said that cycling helped him a ton. Like, he just didn't have any problems at all. This is extremely fresh. Looks like a bear that ate a bunch of berries. Extremely fresh droppings. And then where we had our encounter with a bull elk was not too far from this. This is decently fresh sign. And then we found some even fresher trails. You can see here, this was after our encounter with that elk when he was stomping around, and I don't know, I mean, this was right near a bed, and I don't know that he did this while we were calling to him. It sounded like it, but this is from repeated raking of the antlers against these trees, just like peeling these trees bare. You know, this is called rub, and it's another sign that you're looking for. You're looking for trails, you're looking for scat, you're looking for beds, you're looking for wallows, you're looking for rub. And, you know, really fresh rub, the tree's going to be a little moist to the touch, right? The inside, because the tree basically got flayed by the elk. If it's a little older, it's probably already dry and real smooth. So this wasn't super fresh, but it was pretty fresh. And it was right on this high point. You know, we're all using onX. We've all got GPS on our phones, so you can drop waypoints where you see these things. And man, it seemed like when these elk were bugling, it was from one of these high points. It was from the top, like a dome next to a bowl, you know. And there were a few of them in the area that this one herd was using. But they wouldn't bed down there during the day. They would bed on these benches, okay? So think of like the side of a mountain, right? However steep it is, when you get to like a flat spot and then it starts to go back down again, that's a bench. And the denser the forest, the thicker the deadfall, it seemed like that's where they're going to bed down for the day. They got something to their backs, they've got information on the wind, and it's just really, really thick. So anything that comes to them, they're gonna see movement. You know, their eyes are really movement tuned, not necessarily colors and shapes. And we're all wearing camo that sort of distorts our outline and everything. Man, there's a huge debate on how effective camo is. A lot of the patterns it's because people think they're cool, right? Camo's kind of for other people, but it's also not a difference, you know, of zero. It's a non-zero difference wearing camo and breaking up your outline, how you move, right? Maybe not as big of an effect as you would think with the amount of money some of these items of hunting clothing cost, but it still does make a bit of a difference. So let's go on. Oh yeah, we had an afternoon rain and we sat under one of these really thick trees and we're just completely dry. Sometimes we would sit out in the middle of the day, like if we hiked really far in early in the morning. It was like get up at 4:30 every day, hike and get where you want to go before sunrise, and then wait and listen and call if you hear anything, or just call anyway. You can kind of move around as the sun comes up with the wind in your favor if you want, or if you hear some bugling happening kind of far away, maybe wait and find it out in the afternoon, or you could hike back out depending on how far, you know. So there were a lot of afternoons where we would sit and wait because you're not going to get much response in the middle of the day, and if you bump animals from their beds in the middle of the day, chances are they're just going to completely vacate that area. So we would sit and wait for a long time, and we sat under this tree. Look at this stinking tree. Look at how it's leaning way over into this aspen. It didn't seem like the safest thing to sit under in hindsight. A lot of these trees, they're widowmakers, you know. The amount of deadfall, these trees do come down. So this is just sort of overlooking the area that we were hunting in. I mean, western Colorado is just absolutely gorgeous. And yeah, pretty clear day. We had some big rains a couple times. This is actually a lot steeper than it looks. You know, you're always checking the wind. You're always checking the terrain. You're always like, okay, that bugle sounded like it came from this spot on the map. How do we get over there without giving ourselves away by hiking through a bowl, which the wind is all going to swirl around in the bowl during the day. And that's no good because that's going to kind of send your scent everywhere, right? How do you get to these places? Well, we were able to do it a couple times and we just couldn't ever seal the deal. So I don't know. It just feels like there's so many things that are outside of your control that have to line up before you can even begin to make a decision. I don't know. It was hard, but it was great. This is a decent picture of deadfall. Those trees are probably, you know, this part of this tree probably about a foot across or so. Some of that deadfall is just so thick, and it's trees on top of trees on top of trees, and if you can get up on one of them and it's not too slick, you can use a trekking pole. You can kind of bypass a bunch of it like you're playing Chutes and Ladders. So there's some rain and then sunshine on this hill. Nice view. Took a bunch of these pictures for my family. Yeah, very rainy toward Paonia. This is at our camp. My buddy's got a diesel truck and a fifth wheel toy hauler. It felt like, you know, the Ritz-Carlton. I mean, we didn't always camp out in tents, or in my case, under a tarp. Sometimes we slept in the camper with a little bit of propane heat and an actual bed. I mean, the elk herd that we found and had the best success with was a 2-minute Polaris ride from the camper and then about a 30-minute hike. So it kind of didn't make sense to go set up camp in the middle of their area and spread our scent around. You know, we'd come in early in the morning, like real early, and then try to get some action in the morning, try to get close, or, you know, come across them while they're moving before they bed down. That never happened. We never had any success in the morning. All of our action was closer to sunset, you know. They're crepuscular, I think is what it's called. They're active at twilight, dawn and dusk. That's different than being nocturnal, which is active at night, or being diurnal, I think it is, active during the day. So this is a mule deer. She was just hanging around our camp the entire time we were there with her little babies. Look at the ears on that thing. I mean, she's going to hear whatever. But she knew we didn't have mule deer tags. She's like 30 yards from the camper. This is an aspen forest. It's one of the days we were just waiting till the afternoon. That also seemed to be when the bulls in our area were bugling too. They weren't, like at the very end of our trip, we heard some firing off in the morning, you know. More stars. There's Orion again. This is from camp. Man, just gorgeous. And then I was outside of the camper, took that photo. So that's my buddy's fifth wheel with the Ranger parked next to it. Pretty great trip. This is early morning. Once again, more Orion. This is my buddy's headlamp. You can see that I'm wearing mine too. Just wanted to see how my phone would capture the night sky with a red light on. So yeah, here's some, this looks like Beetle Kill. This is a ranch past these woods, and the nice thing about where we were is that all the highest points and all the densest forest was on the public land that we were allowed to hunt on, even though it was kind of surrounded by these private ranches. They were just big open spaces. And so the elk aren't going to hide there. I mean, they won't even walk on the sunny side of a mountainside through the trees. I mean, if they're going to go on the side that's in the shade, you know, they are averse to any type of exposure, it seems like. So another picture, yet another cow skeleton. I believe that's my last photo. Yeah. So it was a great trip. It really was. I just I want to know what it takes, you know. Colorado, man, it just feels like they're issuing so many tags. I don't know how you can, I mean, somebody's successful. Somebody is harvesting elk out there, and if you're one of those people and you are you fill your tag like more years than not, I want to know what you do. Maybe you don't feel like that's information that you can just give to somebody, but I'm really interested. I'm 0 for 2. There's probably a lot of you watching who can't run a mile at like an 8-minute pace without having to stop, without not being able to catch your breath. And, you know, running a marathon seems super far off. Well, don't think about the marathon. Don't think about how hard that is, how long, how far 26.2 miles is. Think about what you have to do today. What do you need to do today? Well, I need to run as far as I can. And if I have to stop to walk for a minute, that's fine. Let's set a goal for a mile. I'm going to run 1 mile. And if that means that I get a half mile before I have to walk, that's fine. I'm going to run 1 mile. And so set a goal for your first week. Let's get 7 total miles of running and walking. All right? I'm not even going to worry about keeping whatever pace I want to keep yet. I'm just trying to get to the point where I can run longer without feeling like I'm going to die. All right? So the first week, maybe you set a small number of miles, 1 mile a day. You learn what your stretching needs to be. Stretch your hamstrings, your lower back, your calves, your shins. Do lunges to stretch and to warm up. Do these like hip flexor swings and all this stuff like that. I mean, if you look on YouTube, I bet there's a million videos about pre-running warm-up exercises for beginners. Get those down. Focus on what you have to do today. And when each thing you have to do every day becomes easy, dial it up. I mean, okay, I'm running a whole mile and slowing down, and I don't feel like I'm going to die. Because I can't get enough air. Okay, so let's go 2 miles tomorrow. And if you can't get all the way there, that's fine. I mean, think in terms of the now, you know? Like, I want to be able to play 16th notes at 120 beats per minute effortlessly. I can't do half that right now. Okay, well, start at 70 and give yourself 15, 30 minutes of just focused playing of 16th notes at 70 BPM. Dial it up to 75. Maybe you can go up that far. Maybe 85. And get where you're making progress on the daily without just thinking about how hard and far off this big goal is. So for me with this, it was, I want to harvest an elk and have 150 to 200 pounds of the healthiest meat on planet Earth to feed my family in my freezer. What do I have to do that? Well, I need to be in a lot better shape than I would be if I were just sitting in a chair, half slumped over a guitar, playing guitar all day. So I started lifting weights. I started having a daily routine in the morning. I get up before 6 and I either run or I lift weights. And I try to eat a high protein diet, a low sugar diet. And, you know, day by day, weights get lighter, get easier. I got to buy heavier weights. I started out with a 62-pound kettlebell to do my rows with. Now I've got an 80-pounder, and 3 sets of 10 is fine with that. So then what I did is I bought this rope grip. You wrap a rope around it, and now I'm just holding like a, you know, like a gym rope. It's like a piece of gym rope that long. I'm doing my rows with that, you know. Now I have other goals. Like I want to be able to do 15 pull-ups without assistance. So I need to figure out what I need to do that, because I have a really low ceiling garage. I don't know if I want to use a door frame pull-up machine or whatever. So anyway, I'm rambling. If you are a regularly successful elk hunter with a bow and arrow, what do you do? How do you make it happen every year? I'm 0 for 2. Buddy Kyle's like 0 for 4 or 5. Will has harvested one with a muzzle loader, but that's it. Never harvested one with a bow. So yeah, how do you make that work? I would love to know. And thanks for bearing with me in a bit of an off-topic video. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.